Hey, thank you for joining us today on Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson. We're delighted to have you with us. And, we love doing what we do every week. We got another great show lined up for you. We have an interview with Adri-Anne Ralph that we're excited for you to be able to check out what she's been up to. And, of course, music industry news and beats produced by me, Achickwitbeatz.
Yeah. And today's a cause for celebration because, the clock ticks, and as the world turns, not to steal somebody's soap opera title, um, we are rapidly approaching 1 year on this particular version of Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson. So, be on the lookout because, as the clock ticks and that 1 year anniversary pops up, although we've been together before on other broadcasts, this particular one is a very special one. And so the countdown has started.
Yes. So, be on the lookout for that. The extra goodness.
Okay, what we got today?
Oh, well, we just got the usual 1, 2, the punch that we do. So, we got the interview with Adri-Anne Ralph. We got music industry news and beats by yours truly.
Okay, let's kick it.
All right, let's go. right. Thank you so much for tuning in to Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson. We're very excited to say we have the phenomenally talented, just more than a triple threat, I believe. She's got a lot of stuff going and, just a delightful personality, delightful talent. The one, the only Adri-Anne Ralph. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. And even better after hearing you describe me that way.
Yes. Well, just so the audience knows, we connected on Instagram. I always love your posts, your videos, and, just really positive and upbeat. And like I said, to have that shining personality and talent is just, really magnetic. So if you could just kind of let everybody know who you are, what you do, and what first drew you to music.
Okay, well, I'm Adri-Anne Ralph, and I'm actually, right now I live in Southern California with my husband and family, but I'm originally from Canada, so I'm from the west coast of Canada. And I write songs and I sing. That's mainly what I do right now, although I also vocal coach and I have a fashion resale business too. And I'm also an artist. So there's a few things going on. But so first, what drew me to music, my family's really growing up, they put a huge importance on creativity, and my parents had me in choirs and music lessons from when I was really young. So I don't know, I think maybe they just put me in because they liked music, and then they realized oh, she actually is pretty good at this. So they I was able to do piano lessons and did a lot of musical theater and dance, that kind of thing growing up. But yeah, I would say I love all forms of creativity and self-expression, but the one that has kind of I guess the one that I feel comes most naturally to me is singing and songwriting. So yeah.
So yeah, you just went through a whole gamut of a lot of things. Yeah. And so, you mentioned that that's kind of what resonates with you for self-expression. Let's see, not what age, but how long ago would you say that it was when you realized out of all these things that you could do, these two things were your favorite? What was that moment like for you?
Oh, let's see. I think I was probably about 15 or 16. And I was really before, I always sang and did music, but I was more into dance, and I really wanted to be a professional dancer when I was younger. And I think I don't know if you know a lot about the dance world, but they're really specific about body type. Mm-hmm. And basically if you don't have a certain body type, they're sorry, you're just not cut out for it. I did not have this body type. So I kind of reached a point when I was in my mid-teens where I was I really don't think this is going to happen. And I had started a group with my sister and a friend. We just did a cappella songs, and we had started to write our own music, and we'd started to kind of get gigs at little festivals and stuff in our area. And so it was almost the dance was tapering off, and then I kind of was oh, there's this other thing that's happening, and actually I think I'm cut out for this. So yeah, so I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, it does. So yeah. And I know exactly what you mean. I was in 6th grade when I realized that wasn't going to happen for me. I was taking a jazz class and this isn't working. But so to be able to switch gears like that and, find something that you're passionate about as well, that you're really good at is a blessing. So,
Mm-hmm.
Kudos to you for being able to shift gears and, not stay caught up on that, that realization, if you will. It's kind of sad how unforgiving that world is, as far as the varieties of, body types. because I'm definitely not traditional either. So
Yeah.
yeah. So I know Breezy's probably burning to ask you a question. I'll go ahead and let you chime in.
Yeah, my input, I relate directly to the parents shipping you off into piano lessons or so on and so forth. I think that it works wonders for a young person as far as making them more well-rounded, giving them exposure to things that they hadn't seen before or thought of before. And, those different notes of the scale, in my opinion, it just expands a young person's brain. It expands their mind. And so the trickle down from that is, once they get into the teens or the early adults or even the later ages, they can fall back and find abilities or capabilities to make reaches that some of the other children that when they didn't have that in the beginning, they can't do that. Okay, so, kudos to you. I'm one of those people who, and just like Achickwitbeatz was saying, we're really in kind of rare air, having had that kind of background. So yeah, kudos to you for that. And so we directly relate.
Yeah, it for sure. Like, I remember looking back and like my parents were like pretty strict about it. They're like, if we're paying for piano lessons, you have to practice. Me at the piano and be like, okay, practice, we're watching you, we're making sure you're doing what you're supposed to do. And like as a kid I was like, oh, I hate this. But like now as an adult I'm like, oh, I'm so glad they did it, because really like you were saying, there's nothing like it for just giving you that like musical foundation and like being able to like think in that way, like musically. And yeah, it's like a whole different language, isn't it?
Right. Because you can take all of those recitals and so on and so forth that happened years and years ago. There was a crowd, whether the crowd was 5 people or 55 people. It started ingraining that type of exposure into you. So it's nothing like right now coming across a teenager or someone that's a young adult and ask them to even make a speech, just a speech. And once they find out they're going to be in front of a big crowd, sometimes they freeze up.
Yeah.
So with us having that exposure, being fortunate to have that, that's something that it doesn't happen to us. So,
yeah.
Oh yeah. So kudos to you again for all you're doing.
Yes. And so you mentioned the songwriting, and when you get in your bag, like what do you do to kind of draw for inspiration, whenever you have a session?
Well, I work like from the top line angle. So sometimes like I have a group of producers that I work with that send me tracks, and then I write the song to the track. So I like on my phone I have on my note-taking app I kind of keep a list of like when I think of like, oh, that would be a good title for a song, or like that's a really cool line, or that's an interesting way of saying that, I'll just note it down. So when I get a track I'll listen to it and be like, okay, what is it, what's the feel of it, like is it kind of angry, is it sad, is it happy and light and upbeat? And then from there, I'll kind of look at my little stash of notes and ideas and be like, oh, this would fit with this, with how this feels. Or sometimes I'll even just like turn it on and then just start like scat singing or nonverbal, like improvising over top. And then from there, sometimes words will come and I'll be like, okay, that's where it's going. And but I would say like the other way where I start just from nothing, it's usually because I have something that I want to say. So I feel like that's harder because like I have to be like, okay, how do I want to say this? Do I want to say this? Like what, like word patterns do I want to have, or rhythms, or like what feel do I want it to have? Where do I want it to go? Whereas like sometimes like if you have a track already, you know kind of where it's going. But when there's nothing, it's like it's really cool because you have total freedom, but then sometimes it's like I don't even know where to go with this. It could go anywhere. So yeah, I would say yeah, so that's usually how, like, the two ways that I would approach writing a song.
Hey, that's awesome. Especially to be able to have the flexibility to do it, both ways, the way that you described. Now, I have to ask you this because I recently saw a post where you were talking about layering your vocals and how you build your harmonies, and I just found it so fascinating, and also that you took the time to explain that in your post. But if you could kind of walk our listeners through when you're sitting down there and you're creating these hooks and trying to figure out what's going to go where, your process for that.
Oh yeah, so with vocals, usually I would say like 75% of the time I just like the song's there and then I just have to come up with them myself. Just have to figure out, like, I would say I go through it first and I'm like, what lines do I want to emphasize and what lines do I really, like, lyrically or melodically, do I really want to stand out? And then normally I just kind of like play it on a loop and I'll just like try out different harmonies, and then once I find like one harmony, I'll just start trying to layer it on. And normally, like, I really love harmonies because, like, I grew up singing in choirs, so I tend to be like, it's almost like that, like almost like 90s R&B feel where like there's so many harmonies everywhere, which I really love. Throw the whole kitchen sink at it. So normally just like put as much as I can everywhere where I think anything fits, and then I'll just go back and edit like usually half of it out. Otherwise, like, too much. Like, I feel like with finishing a track, you have to be mindful of what keeps the listener engaged with the storyline of the song. And if there's anything that like stands out so much that it pulls them out of the experience of listening, then that has to come out. Even if it's like, sometimes I'll do like a really nice run and I'll be like, dang it, it's like that's distracting me too much from the lead vocal. I have to take it out, even though it sounds really
so, and that sounds painful. To have to pull it out after that, like, oh
yeah, it's a lot of work building it. I really like the aspect of building it, and then I always have to go back and be like, yeah, that doesn't really need to be there. Like, all right. Yeah. Especially with
well,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna throw this out there. Well, coming up on the west coast of Canada, and I've been out in the Santa Monica region of California and so forth. And I used to see a lot of folks out at the Santa Monica Pier just with pens and pads writing lyrics, or actually out there singing to themselves, and then you say, well, hey, that sounds good. And they say, oh, shh, I'm writing a song. Oh, okay. So has the beach had a influence on you ever since you were young, from the west side of Canada coming down to the west side of the United States?
The beach,
the oceans.
Yeah, I don't know if it directly affected songwriting, but definitely, like, as a teenager and like when I was in my early 20s, like, I would go to the beach to be alone, like, just to kind of let my thoughts wander. And sometimes I like I don't know if you're religious, but I'd like take my Bible and journal to the beach, just because it almost like made me feel like, I don't know, like spiritually freer to be. I don't know. It's such a weird thing to say, but
no, not at all.
Yeah, being near like being near the ocean and seeing the power of the ocean and like how huge it is, like I feel like it always gave me like this perspective about who I am and who God is and stuff. So I don't know if that it probably did have an impact, but thinking back, I'm like, I can't pinpoint any like one specific way, but maybe just on creativity in general and how I think of creativity could have. Yeah.
Well, that's a great response right there.
Mm-hmm. I feel like understanding, like you said, the perspectives and everything can kind of allow your mind to create some of the stuff that you create. So, taking those times, those moments of meditation and prayer or whatnot, definitely makes sense why that would be helpful and spark your creativity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, okay, it's getting close to about that time, but before we head out, could you please let us know, what we can expect for the future? If you're looking to collab with certain people or, just release new music, whatever the case may be, what can the world look forward to from Adri-Anne Ralph?
Thank you for asking. Because I would have forgotten to tell you. So I'm actually in a process. I'm just getting the cover art ready for 2 singles that are going to be released. I'm hoping by the end of May, like one will be by the end of May, and then the other one will be probably end of June. Mm. And then there's a third one that's in the production phases. So I'm thinking maybe for like fall, that one. And then I'm working also on a 3-song EP with an R&B producer group from Greece, which is really awesome. And there's a story behind that, but I'll share that another time. But so that's also just finishing the writing phases. So yeah, so I would say expect new releases through probably next spring and early summer from me pretty regularly.
Awesome. And that's cool about the international collaboration. We're excited to hear that and everything else that you've got coming up. Yeah. And so, before we have you drop your socials and all the places where people can follow you, Breezy, was there another question you wanted to ask?
It's really a question, but more of a compliment because, this, you brought a side to our show today that was of a different twist. And, a lot of times there's a lot of laughing and, so on and so forth. But see, you brought that educational twist. Okay. Hey, this is a serious business, in ways that you go about your business, and I know some of that's going to rub off on some of the listeners who are in the industry and even those who aren't in the industry as far as being about their business. So I would like to thank you for doing that because it's something that was much needed.
You are very welcome. I didn't know I would be, but that's good to hear. I just
absolutely
love songwriting and really, like, if you ask me about songwriting, I'll just talk your ear off.
That's a good thing.
It is, yeah, especially if you're passionate about it. It's fun to listen to as well. So yeah, we definitely appreciate you coming on and sharing your experiences with us. And I'll just say right now, we really hope to have you back again soon.
Oh yeah, anytime. When I'm not dropping my son off at school, any other time.
Okay, awesome. And so, yeah, if you could just let the listeners know all the social media sites and handles and whatnot where they can follow you and keep up with what you've got going on.
Sure. So I would say where I'm most active is Instagram. And that one is at Adri-Anne Sounds Like. So ADRIANNE Sounds Like, all one word. I'm also on TikTok, and I think I have the same handle on TikTok. SoundCloud is soundcloud.com/Adri-Anne_R. And my website's www.adriannesoundslike.com. So yeah, if you Google Adri-Anne Sounds Like, all one word, you'll probably find all of them.
Awesome. That's phenomenal. And yeah, once again, we just really thank you. We can't wait to have you back. And yeah, if there's any lasting thoughts you want to leave with the listeners, you're free to do that now. Or...
Yeah, I would just say my motto for this year, and I hope to kind of share it with other people, is like we each are created with unique artistic visions and talents. And I think that each of our missions should be really to express those, like, so that we're expressing them genuinely, like who we really are. And I just feel like, you know, a lot of us, we hear trends and we try to follow trends and we try to follow what's in, but really like what the world needs to hear is like the expression that only we can express, like the creativity that comes from us as individuals. So I just want to encourage anyone, you know, who is creating, just to create and don't worry about anything except just being genuine, being yourself and just being who you were created to be.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know that's going to resonate. And yeah, we just really, really appreciate you and can't wait to have you back.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me.
All right. Thanks.
Absolutely.
What an incredible interview. I mean, she was just so delightful to talk to. And, you know, it's part of the reasons why we connected on Instagram, just, you know, oozing positivity all the time and just tons of talent. So it was really great to have her on, and I can't wait to have her back.
Yeah, that was in the groove right there.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to get back to some more music, and then we'll be right back with music industry news right after this. we're back with music industry news. First up, digital music company Believe, which is actually the parent company of distribution company TuneCore, they're planning a Paris stock market debut. So, they've been kind of making some inroads, kind of being a digital powerhouse here. But in 2020, they generated over $880 million in gross digital revenues, including money collected by TuneCore that was paid out to the indie artists. So, that's a considerable amount of money, especially, during the pandemic year. And since then, it's made, well, I shouldn't say since then, but overall in the last 6 years, it's made 18 acquisitions. So they're looking to expand their reach globally. And so, they just keep buying up all this stuff. And they're also looking to get into new areas, including classical music. So, be on the lookout for that. Pay attention to what these companies are doing when they're making that kind of money like that. See, check out the moves that they're making. Check out where they're investing, because that lets you know that they're seeing promise with their research. So even though, we might not have direct access to whatever they've been researching, by kind of monitoring what these companies are doing, there might be a way to mirror that in your independent artist career. So always be checking that out. Make sure that you locking in and paying attention to what they're doing and where the money's going. They say follow the money, right?
That's what they say. They say.
Yes. All right. Also, in music industry news, Jay-Z files for Trademark, which looks like he's ramping up for a production company. So, according to legal documents that went out, S. Carter Enterprises filed to Trademark 2/J on May 3rd. So they did it for entertainment services in the nature of creation, development, and production of television programming, TV series, movies, and similar projects. So, that's kind of a broad range. It's going to be interesting to see, what he's up to. Again, with the same theme of following the money. Mr. Carter's got a lot of it. And it's always kind of good to pay attention to what he's doing. And, I think a lot of independent music artists kind of need to take, his famous quote, I'm a businessman. So, just pay attention to what's going on. Watch the moves that are being made. So, he's made all these different deals, gotten into streaming, gotten back out of streaming, and now he's moving into entertainment. So, it's just something to pay attention to. So this isn't going to be like his first project, because everybody knows about, the other Annie remake and all that. But now that he's actually ramping up for Trademarks for the production company, that means he's about to get serious about it. So, yeah, just pay attention. Good stuff to know.
As well as surrounded himself with some very, very intelligent people in that field. Okay. Mm-hmm. In that field and other fields. So for the artists that are out there, just as Achickwitbeatz has said, well, in addition to what she said, you got to surround yourself with some very, very competent people who have your best interest at heart, as well as check them as well, because that's a two-way street. We've all heard the stories where somebody was not paying attention and the person took their money. So, the people who are closest to you, they've got to be genuine and long-standing, and you all can come up together.
Yes, that's so very important. So, yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to take a little break, and we'll be right back with more music industry news and a couple of hints and heads up for everybody out there listening. All right, we'll be right back.
Okay.
right, and we are back. AFM and SAG-AFTRA, the Property Rights Fund, distributed a record of $70 million in royalties. So this is something that's not really talked about that often, but due to this, about 50,000 session musicians and background singers will be sharing more than $70 million in royalties. So the average payment is going to be about $1,500 for each, but some had more, some had less, and the checks just started going out April 30th. So the fact that there's a record number of money that's being distributed is really awesome. It's always good for background artists to get the recognition, because without them, often the project wouldn't be what it is. So you always get like the highlights for the headliners, which is cool, but it's really good to hear that everybody's kind of getting their just due. So that was exciting news to hear, wouldn't you say?
Yes, and another tip for the listeners out there who are serious about themselves and serious about their business, you might as well get a specific notepad or a notebook or whatever, because these music news tips that Achickwitbeatz is bringing every week, this is some substantial info. You can't remember all of this stuff with your mental, so write it down. And some of these moves can be very, very inspirational. They can give you a true advantage in your business as an artist. And so follow up on these things. Don't just stay stagnant and just let the world pass you by. Take some of these tips and just investigate them, and then jump in with both feet to help to bring your career to higher levels, but bring your income to higher levels, just as important.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so I also promised some tips for artists, and this particular one is tips on handling imposter syndrome. So I kind of stumbled on this information and thought that it would be helpful. And just in case you're not aware, imposter syndrome means like you're having difficulty accepting your accomplishments due to self-doubt. And so a lot of times you talk to artists about, one of the things that holds them back, and that tends to be it. And so some of the advice that they give is, number one, to call yourself what you are. An artist, a producer, a writer, whatever you are, embrace the title, accept it. You're doing the work. It's okay to call yourself that. Number two, keep practicing. Number three, share what you're proud of. Number four, create a website. Number five, get a creative accountability partner. So all these things can kind of help you feel more comfortable and confident in who you are. You don't need to compare yourself to other people. Some of those signs that kind of let you know if you're dealing with imposter syndrome means, one, self-doubt, not being able to accurately assess your skills, or attributing your success to outside external factors. Like, oh, it wasn't me. If so-and-so didn't do the beat, I couldn't have done it. Or, oh, if so-and-so wouldn't have featured, it wouldn't have been that great of a song, or whatever the case may be. So, imposter syndrome is a real thing. There are a lot of people that struggle with it, but there are ways to press through. If it's something that you're interested in learning more about, you can check out my Twitter account, Instagram, all that good stuff with the tips on there. But yeah, just be confident in who you are. You have your gift for a reason. And just rock on.
Hey, and that last tip, previously you mentioned a story about SAGs. So as an artist, you want to take a look, investigate what SAG stands for, what it means, and how it can help you as an artist. Because don't just put a foot in there and roll with the crowd, because sometimes the crowd doesn't know, and you can be influenced down the wrong road. Okay, so investigate these things and make some steps, take some steps, make some moves, and bring yourself up to higher levels of recognition and income. Okay, so hey, the tips are there, so make use of them.
Yes, absolutely. All right, we're gonna get into some more music by yours truly, and then we'll be back to close out the night with you. This week's edition of Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson. I'd be remiss to close out the night without mentioning that I do have a new track that's out. It just got released on all platforms yesterday. It was a TrackSource exclusive for 2 weeks, and we've been climbing the charts with that, so that's been really exciting. But now it'll be available to people outside of TrackSource, so definitely hope you check that out. It's called Approximately Love by Achickwitbeatz. We've got my original mix, including remixes by Leandro P., Ray Seller, James Nylon, and Indie Soul. I love all the remixes. So if you dig house music, electronic music, dance music, definitely check that out. Again, that's Approximately Love on all platforms.
Hey, you never cease to amaze me what you are doing as an artist as well as an individual. So shouts out to you for your steps outside of the show. And see, that just shows people that, sometimes you got to have multiple lives. You got a life over here, but then you got a life over there that's really churning, and you're making some great things happen. So kudos to you and congratulations as well.
Thank you very much. All right, so we'll be back same time, same place next week. Make sure if you haven't downloaded it already, download the Grander Media app so you can listen to Grander Radio on the go. And we'll see you next week. Tune in, tell a friend, and we'll see you then. Peace.